You can win every argument. You can build an empire. You can silence your enemies, make people kneel at your name. And still, you can feel lost inside, because to conquer others is easy. You learn the rules of the world, and you play harder than them. You push, you climb, you dominate, and the world calls you powerful. But to conquer yourself, that is a different path. No one gives you medals for that. There's no crowd, no applause, just silence, just you and your mind. The world outside can be loud, but the real noise is within. Your thoughts, your fears, your urges, they scream for attention. Can you sit with them? Can you look them in the eye and not run? When you're angry, do you control your actions? Or do your emotions drive you like a puppet? When you're scared, do you face the fear? Or do you cover it with distraction? When you're craving, do you pause and observe? Or do you reach for the next hit, the next escape? To conquer yourself is not to destroy your emotions. It's to understand them, to make peace with them, and to rise above them. Imagine a warrior. His sword is sharp, his skills unmatched. He walks into battle, and all enemies fall. But one day, he faces an opponent that doesn't strike with fists, but with thoughts, doubt, regret, shame. These are the enemies within. And this battle, it is silent, but it is the hardest fight of all. When you win against others, you become strong. When you win against yourself, you become wise. It takes strength to move mountains, but it takes greater strength to stay still when your heart is restless, to breathe when your mind is chaotic, to act with discipline when every cell in your body wants comfort. Many chase success, few seek mastery. Many want control, few want inner peace. You see, power is loud, but knowing the way, that is quiet. The world teaches you to chase more, but the way teaches you to need less. The world wants you to react, but the way teaches you to respond. The world gives you enemies, but the way shows you. The only real enemy is within. When you know the way, you don't need to conquer anymore, because you already are unshakable. You can lift weights, run miles, build a company from nothing, and people will call you strong. They'll see your muscles, your money, your achievements, and admire you. But they don't see what you struggle with when no one's watching. They don't see how you fight your own thoughts at 2 a.m., how you try to hold yourself together when your emotions pull you in every direction. External victory, it's what the world understands. You beat someone in a game, you win. You get the promotion, you win. You buy the car, the house, the lifestyle. Yes, you win. But that kind of strength is obvious. It's loud, and often it fades. Internal victory is silent, and it's the one that really matters. Because what's the point of having power if you're still a slave to your own mind? Think about it. You control a room, but you can't control your anger. You have 100 followers hanging onto every word, but you can't sit still for 5 minutes without grabbing your phone. You can solve the world's problems at work, but you still overthink every small moment from the past. External strength impresses others. Internal wisdom frees you. Most people spend their entire life trying to prove something to others. But real peace comes when you have nothing to prove to yourself. That's when you start walking differently, not because of ego, but because you finally stopped running from yourself. Let's take an example. A man wakes up every morning at 5 a.m. He hits the gym. He works 10 hours a day. He drives a nice car, wears a sharp suit. From the outside, he's powerful, but inside, he's exhausted. Not from the work, but from constantly trying to outrun his own emptiness. He hasn't faced his guilt, his fear, his self-doubt. He masks it with hustle. He thinks winning outside will fix the war inside, but it never does. Now picture another man. He also wakes early, but before the chaos of the world begins, he sits in silence. No phone, no noise, just him and his mind. He breathes through discomfort. He acknowledges his fears instead of hiding from them. He forgives himself for the past. And he chooses discipline not because it looks good, but because it feels right. He wins daily, not with trophies, but with truth. That's the internal victory. That's the kind of strength that no one can take away. Every day, life gives you a choice. Do you react to the world, or do you respond from wisdom? When someone disrespects you, your impulse says, strike back. But wisdom says, pause, because maybe their anger isn't about you. Maybe they're fighting a war too. Internal victory is being able to walk away, not out of weakness, but out of control. When you're tempted to quit, to give up on your goals. Your external self screams for comfort, but your internal voice says, I didn't come this far to surrender to a feeling. People think courage is loud. Sometimes, courage is staying quiet when everything inside you wants to explode. It's choosing peace when chaos would feel better for a moment. This is not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally aware. So your emotions don't become your master. You win the world, but you lose yourself. What's the point? But if you win yourself, even when the world turns its back, you remain whole, you remain steady, you remain free. We spend most of our lives trying to avoid feelings. Sadness, push it away. Anger, hide it or explode. Fear, pretend it's not there. But what if those emotions weren't enemies? What if they were signals? Teachers, trying to tell us something we've refused to hear. Imagine you're walking through a storm. You feel the wind, the cold rain hitting your skin. You could try to outrun it, or you could stop, feel it, and learn how to move with it. Emotions are like that. They're not the storm itself. They're the warning signs, the compass, the mirror. They show you what's missing, what's unresolved, what you need to heal, not ignore. Take anger, for example. Most people either explode or suppress it, but anger is not random. It usually points to a boundary that was crossed. It tells you something mattered to you. Someone disrespected your value, your effort, your voice. So the question is not, how do I shut down my anger? The question is, what is it showing me about myself? Fear, too, is misunderstood. Fear isn't weakness. Fear is your body saying, we're entering the unknown. It's the alert before growth, the whisper before transformation. The presence of fear means you're on the edge of something real. You don't feel fear standing still. You feel it when you're close to breaking through. Fear isn't holding you back. Your interpretation of it is. Even sadness, that heavy, quiet emotion that makes your chest tight, it's not your enemy. It's a sign of depth. You only feel sadness because you cared, because something or someone mattered. You felt alive enough to lose something, and that means your heart was open. That's not weakness. That's proof you're human. Proof you're not numb. We live in a world that teaches us to suppress. Man up, stay strong, don't cry, move on, and in doing so, we disconnect from the very messages that could change our life. If a child cries, we comfort them. But when we cry as adults, we call ourselves weak. Why? A person who understands their emotions has power others can't touch, because they're not scared of feeling. They're not running anymore. They know. Anger can teach boundaries. Fear can teach courage. Sadness can teach healing. Jealousy can teach awareness. Even shame can teach humility. Every emotion, every single one, is a teacher when you stop resisting it. Think about it. You're at work. Your boss dismisses your idea in front of the whole team. You feel a flush of heat, anger rising. You could snap. You could shut down. Or you could breathe, pause, and ask yourself, what part of me felt disrespected? Why did this moment hit so deep? Suddenly, that emotion becomes insight. You're not just reacting anymore. You're learning. You're seeing your own mind. And that's where growth begins. Another day, you see someone online with the life you want. They've got the body, the success, the applause. Jealousy creeps in. Your first thought, they don't deserve it. But if you stop and look at that feeling, it's not about them. It's about what you desire and what you've been avoiding. Jealousy isn't poison. It's a spotlight on what you haven't committed to yet. It's your potential calling you out. We've been taught to label emotions as good or bad, but they're just energy, just data. And if you ignore the data, you walk blind. But if you pay attention, you see patterns, you understand triggers, you become more precise in how you live, how you choose, how you respond. The goal isn't to be emotionless. The goal is to be emotionally intelligent. So you stop reacting and start responding with power. And that power doesn't come from faking calm. It comes from real awareness, from standing inside the storm and not flinching. Because you know, the storm came to teach you something. You can walk into a room full of people and smile, shake hands, talk about your day, even make others laugh, and still inside, you're falling apart and no one would ever know. Because the hardest battle isn't the one people see. It's the one you fight when the lights are off, when you're alone with gets quiet, and the noise inside your head gets loud. You wake up some mornings with a weight on your chest. No one put it there, you just carry it. And you don't even know why. You brush your teeth, dressed, go to work, but the heaviness doesn't leave and no one notices because you've mastered the art of hiding it well. You go through the motions, smile when expected, nod when necessary, but deep down, you're in a battle, not with people, not with circumstances, but with your own mind. That's the silent war, the battle no one claps for, no trophies, no awards, just you and the question, how much longer can I hold this together? And yet every day you get up, you show up, you try again. That is strength, that is power most people will never understand. Because but holding yourself together when everything wants to fall apart, that's the real fight. Take a man walking through grief. He's lost someone he loves. Everyone's back at him. Stay strong. So most holds. The world is still going to work. Pay acts normal, but inside he's screaming. Every room he walks into feels empty. Even when it's full, he doesn't talk about it. Because how do you explain pain that doesn't show on the outside? Or a woman chasing her dream and failing quietly. She doesn't post about it, she doesn't complain, she just tries again. Every day she wakes up earlier, trains harder, pushes through doubt and rejection. She questions herself, but she doesn't quit. No one sees her tears at 3 a.m. They only see her smiling photo, but people think warriors wear armor, carry weapons, march into battle. But sometimes a warrior march to battle looks like a teenager fighting depression, a father battling in silence, a student high quest couldn't behind it. Those battle the hard to fix scoring every day and truly multi-purpose are fight of the battle. That teaches us how to sit with our pain, how to breathe through our doubts, how to negotiate war. That wasn't eyes, wisdom of the room, which you mean is you from one more. They've weathered storms you couldn't imagine and they keep walking. So if you're fighting silently and it feels like no one sees you, just remember you are not broken for struggling, tired, are not alone in your battle. Every step you take to not even when no one's watching, that struggles of the world. But you shape you up at awake in the morning and your alarm rings. The first voice you've but convincing first 5 moments with me is your warning, no one's recourse. Follow the phone all for struggling Ubo. Tired, and your bed feels like heaven. You know you need to get up. You promised yourself last night. But right now, the promise feels small and the comfort feels big. That's impulse. It whispers, it doesn't shout. And that's why it wins so often. Discipline is different. Discipline is quiet too. But it doesn't lie to you. It reminds you of your purpose. It says, this is hard, but this is who you said you wanted to become. Most people lose their battles in those tiny moments, not in the big decisions, but in the small ones. When you skip the workout, when you delay the call, when you scroll for hours, and cause impulse is sneaky, and discipline feels good right now. Discipline, want to be forever. You run your people chasing dopamine. One more, be for me. One more, school. One more bite, one more excuse, but deep down, they're not happy, they're restless because their actions don't match their vision. You want the 6-pack, but don't want to say no to the junk food. You want confidence, but won't step into discomfort. You want peace, but keep feeding habits that drain you. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Think about a person, the dream about a person who goes CZM every day at 6 a.m. It's not because they love waking up early, it's because they've decided that their long-term growth matters more than the short-term comfort. Every time they show up, they train the mind, not just the body. They tell themselves, I'm in control, not the craving, not the excuse, not the feeling. Them a student studies while their friends go out, a writer keeps typing even when the words don't come, an entrepreneur wakes up to put even after 3 humans. They are simply people who've decided that a future matters more than their mood. Discipline is not punishment. The paper it says known as with one power commitment with mobility coming for the be more for the evil and for people for the people to call every people the waste of solar was still You're choosing slow decay. You think you're avoiding pain, but you're creating a life full of guilt. A man who controls his impulses is more dangerous than a man who can throw a punch. Be power. The world, it rewards those and water creates who get gratification where no one's watching, who sits in silence When the world chases noise, that's the level you'll reach. When discipline becomes your identity, every life gives you two voices. One says, "This feels good now." The other says, "This will feel right later." Most people choose the first, champions choose the second, not because it's easy, but because they've trained for it. They've built a mind that bows to purpose, not to temptation. You chase more because you think more will fix the emptiness. You fill your calendar, your mind, your room, your phone, thinking if you just had more money, more attention, more noise, you'd feel alive. But the more you grab, the more lost you feel, because the answer was never in more. The answer is in less, in stillness, in awareness, in simplicity. Look at nature. The tree grows in silence. The sun rises without effort. The river flows without panic. But you run from yourself every second, filling with something to avoid feeling anything. Stillness, excusing nothing, and everything with the energy you want. Just breathing. Laugh, argue, he listens, but he doesn't lose himself. He watches, but he's not swayed. His mind is still, his presence is sharp. While others get caught in noise, he moves through it like wind through leaves, not because he's better, but because he's practiced silence inside himself. Awareness is your weapon. You can't change what you're not aware of. And most people move lives they eat it without tasting. They walk without seeing. They speak without thinking. They live without knowing who they are. Awareness is sitting with a thoughts and asking why no run is, and asking why mo si moist ilvus milovski mo nighting. Just observing, it's catching the pattern before it becomes regret. It's noticing the tension in your chest before it becomes an outburst. Awareness gives you freedom, because you're no longer a puppet pulled by emotion. You become the watcher, the watch trapped in the game. And another simplicity, both the goer isn't complexity, but on the power isn't complete. The hidden is lost. Is going with all voices with a man. If you almost the word new with your full precious false by you. He's choosing, he's not consuming. He's creating space in his home, in his mind, in his heart. Stillness teaches you how to feel. Awareness teaches you how to see. Simplicity teaches you how to live together. They are the way, not the modern way, not the loud way, but the true way, the way of presence, the way of mastery, the way of being fully here, in this breath. In this moment, you don't need to climb a mountain. You need to sit with your own breath. You don't need to become more. You need to strip away the noise that hides who you already are. Stillness, awareness, simplicity, not a formula, not a trick, just a return to what was always within you. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to rise, to prove something, to be remembered, to be feared. So they chase domination, dominate the market, dominate the competition, dominate the room. But what happens when you reach the top and the noise inside your head is still louder than the applause? You see people standing at the peak, and they look strong, they look successful. But if you could hear their thoughts, you'd realize they're not free. They won the world, but lost themselves in the process. Because domination looks like power, but it's built on fear of falling, fear of not being enough, fear of beast. Doesn't look flashy. You won't get headlines for it. And not be shaken to face disrespect, to be your own voice. Kaylee, think about it. What's more powerful? Any man who throws his bread. One clouds when you will be smooth for buses. We want more. Where's this? A person who gets everything they want, or someone who wants less because they've found contentment in what they already have. You know, someone who always has to win, always has to speak louder, always has to be right. It looks like strength, but it's actually insecurity in disguise, because real confidence doesn't compete. Real peace doesn't react, it responds. Press street without the need to prove anything. Go to any busy street, people rushing, honking, arguing over small thing. If you just observe, you'll notice most people are not living, they're running from silence, from self-reflection, from the uncomfortable. Truth is not a place you arrive at by conquering others. You don't get there by controlling more. You get there by surrendering the idea that you need anything outside yourself to be whole. That you the truth with much. When was to stand up, when you look at him, when will you So since for so long, looking more winning link at him. You feel something, a presence, a stillness. He doesn't dominate, he doesn't chase, he simply is, and you realize he has something most powerful people don't. He has peace. That kind of peace can't be bought, it can't be faked, and it can't be taken from you, because it's not based on opinion, status, or outcome. It's built from within. It comes from choosing self, respect over ego, clarity over reaction over performance. There's a moment that comes when you've had enough of pretending, enough of pushing, enough of trying to prove you're worthy. And in that moment, you don't collapse, you exhale. And in that breath, you finally meet yourself. Not the version casting trophies, but the version that feels whole. Even in silence, people fear peace because they think it means giving up. But peace isn't the absence of strength, it's the highest form of it. Because the one who doesn't need to dominate has already won the only battle that ever mattered. You were not born to live on autopilot. You were not meant to just wake up, vibe the day, and collapse into bed hoping tomorrow feels different. You are here to become aware, to walk through life not just breathing, but feeling, not just existing, but becoming. You are not here to conquer the world by force. You are the most powerful person. It's the one who has control over within, because it's not the one who is the one who has control me. You can create me with tell them what we play, the who's a evil, almost the overpouring of world more, look forward in war, walk from yourself on the way there. What's the point of winning the crowd if you can't sit in silence without feeling lost? You were told to dominate, but they never told you about the price. They never told you that the loudest man in the room is often the most broken, that the one who needs the most attention usually feels the least seen. There's a reason why the wisest people speak slowly, because power isn't loud. True power is calm, true strength. If check, no wisdom is quiet for the world pulled to want. Who to be, what success you're familiar to your life, and gonna realize you're from who you're, what to want for. You'll want to feel powerful. You'll feel powerful. Wake up before your excuses. Move even when you don't feel like it. Sit with your pain. Instead of numbing it, face your doubts. Instead of running, that's power, that's victory. To stand in front of the mirror and say, I know who I am, and I won't run from it, because the greatest battle is not out there, it's in your habits, your reactions, your fears. Every time you say no to temptation, every time you breathe instead of break when the world wants to take it, you win. You've heard it before. To conquer you conquer the city. That's the way of power. The way makes it not just call the attack and the make it say that everybody has to be more. That's the way. Let's know it. Put on where won't be for us. Unless you anyone so over you will never before. You're the way leads truly win. It means waking up in peace. It means walking with purpose. It means going to bed knowing you didn't betray yourself for the sake of approval. It means choosing what's right over what's easy. It means being able to look in the mirror and say, didn't just survive today. I stayed true to who I am. You are not a machine. You are not here to perform. You are a force. And the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more presence. It needs more still warriors, more calm minds, more souls that walk in truth. So walk your path, not to conquer others, but to conquer the only thing that ever truly mattered, yourself.